Welcome back to the channel, everybody. I am Mick Alphanine. Please subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. I would greatly appreciate that. And if you could, please click that like button, turn it into a rocket, and send it to the moon. Muy lindo, mi gente. We're going to get that right out of the way. Raiiiisito. 2020 could be a huge year. A huge year. Have you seen how much Denelle Dixon has been making the rounds on different virtual meetings? She was in front of the government. There was that meeting before with the co-meeting with the federal government, right? The Boston Fed. They had some meeting, I believe, over the summer. Then now here's this interview. And I mean, that's just a few things that she's done to promote Stellar and bring awareness and education to a lot of the governments and politicians and CEOs of companies that are they're not really privy to what the cryptocurrency banking rails can do. They look at all of crypto as coins like Bitcoin and Ethereum. They have no idea of the infrastructure that has been set up. So Denelle has been, our fearless leader, Denelle Dixon, has been making the rounds. And once more, she is here on CNET.com, a very respected website, a very respected television. At least it used to be on cable. I don't watch TV anymore, so I wouldn't know, but I believe it probably still is on cable TV. CNET, very respected. And it also appeals to a very broad audience, age range. And we need to scoop up, not just scoop up all of that extra money on the table. We don't want to leave any money on the table. But it educates these individuals who will then go back to their friends and word of mouth will spread about this cryptocurrency, the banking coins, Stellar, XLM, Lumens. This is great stuff here. And I think this is only the beginning. We will see a lot of the banking coin CEOs and heads of the foundations out there much more this year on the news, on TV, advertising, as Hedera said they were going to do as well. And there's going to be a lot more promotion as infrastructure is almost complete. We saw IBM complete their setup of infrastructure for CBDCs, tested their CBDCs, and are ready to roll them out. It's just a matter of the banks giving the green light and saying, yes, we're ready for it. We're ready to integrate with your infrastructure. It's just a matter of that. That's it. So here we have CNET.com. Denelle Dixon gives a little bit of her thoughts here. And it goes as such, quote, I hope we're going to see a lot more focus on utility. Let me interpret that for you. We're going to see a lot more focus on utility. There's going to be a lot more advertising this year from the banking coin rails. Hedera. Ripple has been, since I think it started about September of last year, Ripple was just taking off with promoting themselves on Twitter. I believe they had a few commercials on TV. They were doing countless meetings. Then you saw Stellar, and I think Stellar was around October. You just saw them explode as far as all the virtual meetings they were attending. Their YouTube, promoting more on YouTube. Look how many videos the Stellar Development Foundation put out on YouTube. Keep in mind, YouTube is I have to say, is one of the biggest websites now, since I believe TikTok has taken the #1 spot. But still, that does not negate how many eyes can view a particular video on YouTube. So that's significant. I expect to see more of this. And yes, so the focus is going to be much more on utility. Also, keep in mind that the government of the United States and many governments around the world have a great respect for Denelle Dixon, and they want to hear more about crypto. Did you see the congressional representative, I believe from Texas, pretty much drooling over the idea of what Stellar can do? He kept asking questions about that MoneyGram deal, not because he's interested in what they're doing with MoneyGram, but when people ask questions like that, it's a psychological mechanism that triggers when they're interested in something. They can learn about it by asking you questions about what that particular thing is doing for something else. They already know it's beneficial. They just want to know how it functions. Did you see that? So government officials are going to be learning more and more accepting of the protocol, such as XLM, asking about it and promoting it. Also, that's very important. Behind the scenes, there's a lot of conversations that will take place between important people. And so that's going to be pushing the banking coins a little bit more. You have Hedera, the connections that Hedera has. They can promote all they want. Hedera, in my humble opinion, is already an extremely, it's such a solid pick. It's hard for me to not say it's a guarantee. It's very hard. Look at their governing board. Algorand is a similar situation. Silvio Macaulay was a professor at MIT. MIT is working with the Fed. Also, Maiden Labs is a wing of MIT. Look at the connections MIT has to the Fed. Okay? The Fed, the Boston Fed, which is the big Fed, came to MIT and said, listen, we're going to leave our research on CBDCs up to you. Silvio Macaulay has deep ties and respect with MIT. I'm telling you, the banking coins are going to do well. I can't tell you a timeline on how long it's going to take. I can only tell you what the Bank of International Settlement said and what JP Morgan is saying. 2 to 3 years, 3 to 5 years is what they're saying. Who knows? But I just know the potential of this is unbelievable. No hype whatsoever, because it doesn't matter to me whether you buy or sell. I have to say that again. I was in one of my peers' videos. Well, not in the video, but I was watching one of my peers' videos. They were doing a great job explaining XLM and Hbar and such. I see people in the comment section saying that this particular person is shilling. Impossible. How can they shill Hbar and XLM? Retail is not going to move their price. It doesn't matter whether retail buys or not. People have to understand this. It doesn't matter whether you buy XLM or Hbar or Algorand or not. It means nothing. It was never meant for retail. Retail is not going to move it. They can dump more coins than you could ever buy and flood the market with coins because it's meant for banks, commercial banks, central banks, large business institutions that when mass adoption happens, they're going to buy everything in sight like you wouldn't believe. They have money so long, it's unfathomable to the layperson. Unfathomable, mind-blowing wealth they have behind them. Those central banks, those commercial banks are going to buy so many coins. Then you will see the price move like you've never seen anything move before. Theoretically speaking, of course, there's no guarantees in life, but look at all the data. So, yeah, no hype whatsoever. I'm just giving you my honest opinion. For personally, doesn't matter to me whether you buy or sell. Doesn't make a difference to me. I am just a humble researcher. That's it. I provide the research. What you do with it, it's up to you. All right, so I have to get that out of the way. Next little piece. Instead of focusing just on a few use cases that create a lot of hype, meme coins, we'll see more focus on the use cases that drive real value and more discussion around financial inclusion. I agree with that, like I just said. 100% agree with Denelle Dixon, who's been doing a fantastic job. But guys, make sure you're going to Twitter and telling Stellar they're doing a good job. Algorand, support these companies. They're going to make us millions. Why would you not? We have to do our part. We have to incentivize them. Let me tell you something. When you're sitting in an office and you're looking at screens all day, you're sitting on the phone in meetings all day, it can really, really get you down. It can really get to you in life. And they're doing a ton of that. So it pays to help people fire you up, tell you you're doing a good job. We're sort of like their boss. When your boss sometimes comes in, and if you have a boss, some of us don't have bosses, but if you have a boss, sometimes the boss comes in and says, good job. You did a great job today. Thanks. That report was stellar. No pun intended. It makes you feel good. Like, man, I feel great about this. When a parent tells you you did a good job, you get fired up sometimes. Yeah, I did a good job. Mom, dad said I did a good job. Same thing we need to do here. Keep these people fired up. If not for them, they share these tweets sometimes. They share the messages sometimes with their employees to get them fired up. The people behind the scenes doing the developing, let them know they're doing a good job so they can continue to innovate. They can continue to want to do what they're doing. They will not rest on their laurels. They'll be fired up to do more. And that's going to make you and I so much money, disgusting amounts of money. Muy lindo. Raiiiisito. So, for the few who are willing, we're going to do our part in more ways than one. This is a game of chess, and I'm going to utilize all my pieces. This is a game of chess. Move your pawn now. Move your knight. Don't let them sit there. Let's use some strategy. Let's go here. With @SendWire's integration, Algorand developers are able to offer their end users near instant payment processing solutions within applications. Algorand never ceases to amaze me. They're always doing something. They have a great community, by the way. They keep the good energies flowing so that the developers and the people who are doing all of this footwork, okay? So we saw Silvio Macali having those meetings with a lot of the presidents in Latin America. Algorand has been dominating Latin America. How long before those high fees on Bitcoin, turn those systems that are running on Algorand completely to using Algo? Algo is, do I have to say Algo is so much better than Bitcoin? But those systems are running on Algorand. Just do a quick search and you'll see this. Silvio Macali has a great relationship with a myriad of presidents in Latin America. And Algorand has been doing a great job about expanding itself outwardly and building corridors in Latin America. Their future is extremely bright. And there's not a lot of people talking about Algorand right now. It really calmed down a lot, but I'm telling you, when you see what they're going to do and you see that if they have a spike or a couple of parabolic runs in 2022, and I think Algorand can, it's going to be significant. If it happens, it's going to be significant because the corridors that they're utilizing are going to utilize them in a myriad of ways, not just one, not just for cross-border remittances, not just for a CBDC. They're going to institute it in a variety of ways. As I said before, I believe one of the presidents had an interview in Latin America. They had an interview and they were talking about doing payroll with Bitcoin. If you're going to do payroll over Bitcoin, you're going to see the flaw in that. You're going to have a hard time doing that. It will be easy since you already have Algorand there to just switch over to Algo and run your payroll through Algorand utilizing Algo. If that happens, you're going to see a parabolic spike. I don't know how big, but you're going to see an uptick. Algorand's future is extremely bright. So let's continue on here. So we also have this tweet here from Ripple. It says RippleNet's on-demand liquidity solution enables financial institutions to deliver instant cross-border payments without the need for pre-funding. Discover how Asimo uses on-demand liquidity to power faster international payments to the Philippines. So this is one of the institutions that is running a corridor for Ripple, okay? Asimo. Now, when I see something like that, I instantly want to click on that and find out what Asimo is. I'm going to read their website. I would definitely take a look at their financials if that's a report they put out. So let's click on that and go here. And we can see that it says, what's the cheapest way to send money to the Philippines, Brazil, and Thailand? I said this before. Ripple has deep legs in Thailand. Thailand just put their CBDC development off until 2022 because Consensus, which is run on Ethereum, was having problems. XRP could definitely take that corridor. Someone needs to step in and talk to the central bank from Ripple and see if they would like to use the XRPL the same way that CM Commercial Bank and the other commercial banks are using it in Thailand. Ripple already has corridors in Thailand. So, but we have Thailand here that Asimo is servicing, Brazil. So now we have we see that Ripple is also in Latin America. Listen, crypto is going to dominate in Latin America, Africa too, and they are developing rapidly. Those are good corridors for the future. So much money is going to be coming through those corridors in future time. This lets you know that there is going to be increased capital over time. So even with the parabolic spikes that we stand to see, when mass adoption happens, when CBDCs roll out, there will be probably a continuity of capital flow as corridors build up. Remember, a lot of the crypto banking rails are planting roots now. They're going to grow with those economies, which is why you see a lot of them like Algorand. You have Ripple now, and you have Celo in Latin America. You have Stellar in Latin America. They're building infrastructure there in these growing economies and building trust as well. Then you have the corridors they're building in Europe. Stellar's in Europe. Algorand is in Europe. They have Algorand European Accelerator, right? Algorand is building corridors in Europe. Ripple has some legs in Europe, some corridors in Europe. Africa. Listen, the continuity of capital, I don't think people are actually prepared for what's going to happen if everything goes according to plan. and when everything is rolled out through mass adoption. Listen, I don't expect nor do we require every single corridor to be taken by the banking coins. Okay, some of these corridors are still going to be run by the legacy system. They will not let them go. And there's going to be fledgling organizations who are going to come out. There's another organization, for example, that just rolled out a CBDC in Jamaica on, I think it's either like a hash type of protocol. But you're not going to get every bank. We don't need every bank. We're talking quadrillions of dollars to be scooped up. So even if we got a modicum of that capital, it's going to be substantial. Raiiiisito. My goodness. Like I keep saying it. Somebody out there is doing the math. I guarantee you someone's out there doing the math. They've taken the numbers from the PDFs I provided and they are doing calculations. And I predict in a few months' time, you're going to see someone come out and just give you the numbers on what the prices would be if the protocol were to scoop up this particular money in these corridors, and they'll probably have the corridor. I know people have done it just an overarching thing, right? I've seen people do an overarching tabulation, but I'm talking about for specific corridors. Someone's going to do it. and I'm going to be watching. Whoever does that is going to be legendary. To be able to pinpoint the corridors and how much, who runs those corridors and how much those protocol will be worth if all the money was flowing through those based upon transaction, daily transaction volume or yearly transaction volume. Also pair it with the average transaction value. Yes, whoever does that is going to be legendary. So Thailand, Brazil, and Philippines. So this is very good for Ripple. I expect to hear a lot of news actually over the next three months from Ripple as they continue to build. Okay, they're going to build themselves to where they're too big for anyone to stop. I don't think, and not really stop, but to hinder, right? I do believe that they will have success with their SEC case, but we'll see. We'll wait and see what happens with that. Also here we have Celo. Finally, Celo has had 1,121,775 daily transactions. It is one of the banking coins. It's not a part of the ISO family, but I believe that they can get ISO certified. I'm going to actually reach out to them and see if they're going for ISO certification, because they should. But they're one of the banking coins that goes parabolic easily. You did see how everything had the dip recently, right? Now Celo's back at like $5, over $5 again. Like it goes up so easily. Just imagine when Celo is being utilized for payroll. Imagine when Celo's being utilized as a CBDC if they're able to grab any banks. And I believe that they can. If they even get one bank, Celo's going to go through the roof. It is. And people are going to make some pretty good gains from Celo. Just take a look at the data yourself. What did it hit? Like $12 over the summer? And that was just from retail. That was just from retail. If you think it's not going to go up again, I don't know what to tell you. Let's go here with Hedera. Hedera put out a tweet here and it says, in this Q&A at ServiceNow's, Nicola Attico shares why they joined the council and distributed ledger use cases actively being researched by the Fortune 500 company. So once again, I'm going to ask myself as a researcher, who is ServiceNow? Well, we've heard that name before because I believe Hedera has made posts about ServiceNow prior to this one. But let's just look a little further into what ServiceNow is and why that could be significant. So it says, ServiceNow is a cloud-based platform. The Now platform delivers digital workflows that create great experiences, unlock productivity for the enterprise. Within these workflows, ServiceNow intends to increase the trust of multi-party processes with the use of distributed ledger technology. Now, I found something interesting. That's from the Hedera.com website, but I wouldn't settle just for reading it from Hedera. Let's go to ServiceNow's website. So I looked it up, and now this is interesting. ServiceNow, get this number. Hedera Hbar is so powerful. It is backed by such powerful entities. There is no way, I believe, that it's reasonable to think that they are going to fail. That number is going up. It's not staying around 30 cents. It's not. There's no way. Not financial advice. I'm not a financial advisor. I'm just a researcher. This is my humble opinion. There's no way. ServiceNow is trusted by 6,900 enterprise customers. Let me say that number again. 6,900 enterprise customers. Let that sink in. Just imagine as they're building infrastructure and bringing Hedera to their customers, and the customers who trust them, which is 6,900, apparently they have a great relationship with these particular businesses, begin using Hedera. Let's say they use them to tokenize different assets. Let's say they use them to do payroll. Let's say they use them for their smart contract capability. Let's say they use them for a digital currency to move fiat back and forth. 6,900 is substantial. That price of Hedera is not staying around 30 cents. It's just a matter of time. In my humble opinion, not financial advice, it's just a matter of time before Hedera has another parabolic run. And it's going to be apparently substantial. You have FIS bringing all of these banks to Hedera. Now, whether they use them or not, we shall see. That's why we watch. We keep an eye on what's going on. We listen out. We keep an eye out for these catalysts. But FIS is a supervisory body over a myriad of banks. As I said in my previous video, go watch that. I told you the name of the banks. You can look them up for yourself. So Hedera has FIS and it has ServiceNow. ServiceNow with its 6,900 enterprise customers like 7-Eleven. What now? If 7-Eleven were to utilize Hedera, they could use it for traceability, right? They could use it for payroll. They could definitely use it to save cost on transactions. 100%. 100%. I could see an offering that someone puts something together where there is an offering to compete with, let's say, Apple Pay, that's built on Hedera, and enterprises using something like that. I might be getting a little bit ahead of myself, but I could see that totally happening, and businesses would save so much money. They would not be able to deny that they would want to use that service. They would say yes. And think about it, headache free, and you can collect all of this data. Names are detached from the data, but you get to collect this data, which data also could be sold for businesses to make money. I mean, all of these possibilities with Hedera. All while it's capable, I think it's actually capable of north 150,000 transactions per second. I believe it is. So Hedera Hbar is in a very good place, and it's all of this is coming out all at the same time, right? So I'm looking at FIS, I'm looking at ServiceNow. There's a reason all of this is coming out right now. Hedera is going to be a major mover. I don't think they have their ISO certification, but I believe that they could easily get their ISO certification. So we'll keep an eye out for that and any announcements on their ISO certification. They were on the list with Cardano, I believe, as protocol that would be possibly getting their ISO certification in 2022. So, you know, we'll just keep an eye on that. So now we have a list of some of ServiceNow's customers. Get a load of this. Just AAA. You know, they like tow cars and stuff like that. Big business. They help you with roadside assistance. AAA, Aaron's, Abraxas, Academy Mortgage Corporation, Active Trades, Aegis, Affinity Water, Energy Action, AgroPer, Electro Utilities, money. Hbar is gonna Raiiiisito. Hbar is gonna raise. Alta Gas, Allianz, Alexander Mann, AMP. What does it say? American Express Global Business Travel, Amerin, Amplifon, Antares Vision, I mean, we could just keep going. Ashley, AstraZeneca. AstraZeneca is one of ServiceNow's trusted, not trusted customers, I'm sorry, but one of the customers that has great trust for ServiceNow, according to their website. AstraZeneca. Listen, I think what Hbar is, honestly, it's much bigger than what people are anticipating. The way they formulated their governing body was genius. Their entire team is genius. How do they lose? They have some of the most brilliant minds in all of crypto. How do they lose? I don't understand how anybody perceives that that's going to happen. Have you looked at their gossip mechanism? Look how complicated it is compared to regular blockchains. It's mind-blowing. And then you look at their governing board. There's a reason all of those powerful companies got on board and said, yes, we want a piece of this. They didn't do that with any other protocol. Of course, they're working with protocol. They're working with Ripple. There's a few working with Ripple, a few working with Stellar. But look at the gargantuan amount of powerful business institutions on Hedera's governing board, governing council. It's unbelievable. I think Google is even on there. Google. So ServiceNow is a significant utilizer of Hedera Hbar. Someone to keep an eye on, and we'll see what comes of this. There is a lot of time still to build infrastructure, and this is going to be very interesting. Hbar has a very bright future. Now we have this little bit from the NewYorkFed.org, okay, and it's a little blurb on CBDCs, and it says this. It says a CBDC could have several advantages over stablecoins. One is safety. I think stablecoins are pretty safe in my humble opinion, unless you're talking about Tether. I mean, they have there's certain things going on with Tether that are definitely questionable. But almost all the other stablecoins are pretty secure. Like USDC is backed dollar to dollar. That's pretty secure. What's safer than that? But maybe that's what they're talking about here, because the federal government has a big problem with Tether. They have a big problem with Tether. However, I'll say this also, a little interesting tidbit. VeChain is coming out with their own stablecoin that is going to have a massive impact on the market. VeChain is unbelievable. Okay, so but let's continue on here. It says, in contrast to a stablecoin, which is the liability of a private institution, a CBDC would be the liability of a central bank. We already know that. Nevertheless, a stablecoin that is fully backed by balances in a central bank account would be almost as safe as a CBDC. Let me read that again. That was interesting. Let me read that one more time. Nevertheless, a stablecoin that is fully backed by balances in a central bank account. Remember I told you this? There was a commercial bank, not a central bank. There was a commercial bank working, and I'm not going to say their name, working on a digital currency that was backed by bank accounts. Didn't I say that? So now we see that what they're trying to mimic what the central banks are doing. Let me read that again. This is the Fed talking. Nevertheless, a stable coin that is fully backed by the balances in a central bank would be as safe as a CBDC. This here is the reason why stable coins will be easier to put forth for mass adoption than regular crypto. First, the stable coins will come, then regular crypto will be able to sneak in the door, okay? Stable coins are the door opener because central banks and the federal government are looking at them as such. They want to conscript the stablecoin technology. The governments are lazy. They don't innovate. They typically will let someone else innovate, and they will take that innovation and utilize it. They're going to pay somebody to build something or do the research, and they're going to use that. They don't typically do things themselves. That is a very interesting statement. Let's continue on here. Another advantage of a CBDC is that it can be designed to meet public policy objectives. Let me stop there for a moment also. Okay. I think this is also why a lot of crypto, not just using stable coins as door openers, but also to get in good with the banks. If you're running a stable coin like what VeChain is going to do, or if you're running a stable coin like what Stellar is doing, MoneyGram and such, and the banks say, hey, Can we use the stable coin that's on your network and back it by central bank accounts? I don't think they say no. Or can you give us an allotment, right? However they want to do it. I don't know if they want to back it in US dollars, or they want to back it in SDRs, or whatever it is, the agnostic currency that they have that they use between the federal, the Fed and the banks, or between the central banks, which a lot of them are SDRs. But I don't see any crypto foundation or organization turning that down. And if that were to happen, they're in. They are in the big boys club, so to speak. Let's say the big money club, right? We don't have to humanize it. The big money club. And if that were to happen, and it would be good for us, Raiiiisito. Oh, that price. Get your heart pills ready, because I told you before, if all of this continues to go according to plan, the way it's going so beautifully, muy linda, mi gente. You're gonna see people looking at their cell phones when the prices go parabolic, and you're gonna see them just drop on the ground. You're gonna be very concerned until you turn them over and you see that they were on Coinbase. You're gonna see their balance, and you're gonna have heart palpitations yourself, knowing that you need to open your exchange, whatever your exchange of choice is, and you were holding those banking coins. But yeah, it's going to be muy linda, mi gente. Okay. It says, for instance, a CBDC could offer features that ensure equal access to citizens, facilitate direct payments from the government, or provide heightened privacy protection. See, now that's one thing this is why CBDCs are coming. No matter what the Fed wants to say, they're coming. There is an organization, though, I'm going to tell you right now. I saw the other day, and they're pushing against blockchain. They're using a hash-like, I'm not sure if it's actually a hash graph, technology, because I believe Hedera is the only one who can use that, but I'm not sure of how that works. I don't know, but it's a hash-like technology, and they are against blockchain, and they are making articles against blockchain. That is not good. This is why I said foundations like XLM did a great job by building the Starlight protocol, and they better keep it up to date. They better continue to advance it so they can stay ahead of Hashgraph. Continue to innovate and stay ahead of Hashgraph. That way there's a balance to it. Hashgraph is going to be able to make giant leaps as far as advancement, giant leaps. So blockchain is not always capable of making these giant leaps. It takes a whole lot of work to make those leaps, like what Starlight protocol does, but they can with enough work, and you're going to need to keep it balanced. That way, organizations who run a hash-like, as far as like a hash graph, like the different, like how Hedera hash graph runs their gossip mechanism is these very complicated ways of storing data. That's what I'm talking about. They can't just completely say blockchain is inferior. That's what I'm trying to get at. You don't want that. You have to continue to innovate. But let's read that one more time. Another advantage of a CBDC is that it can be designed to meet public policy objectives. Yeah, so the governments, they definitely want that security. They want to be able to have as much data as possible, and they would be able to access that, because I'm pretty sure you're going to have to agree to them collecting certain types of data from you. Almost every organization does that, and I believe the Fed would probably be open to do that if we're talking about CBDCs or such. But names would not be attached. They would get the data, but names would not be attached. Don't quote me on that, but I think that's the way it could go. And that is a concern for the people, because the people don't want to give you any information whatsoever. They want to have their digital currencies to be more like cash. But I think that's why in the future, P2P payments like across cryptocurrency rails like XLM, Hbar, Algorand, Celo, and XRP are going to be still pretty substantial, because the people don't trust the government. They don't trust the governments. So while some people will use CBDCs probably for certain things, I think a lot of people across the world are still going to use the cryptocurrency rails to move money back and forth. Once the cryptocurrency rails are gain regulatory clarity and are declared not securities, definitively across the board. Let me say that, definitively across the board. So now we're on blockchainwg.eu, and they have something interesting here from the IIF. All right. In its title, IIF publishes a paper on central bank digital currencies, asymmetric disintermediation. And they have policy questions arising from the consideration of these things, and they're very interesting. So the first one is, are central banks prepared to manage an increased liability of citizens' savings? This is where the Bank of International Settlements was trying to explain to the supervised banks and their peers as well that they wanted the technology to be sheared up and created as such where there is very, very little extra that they would have to do as far as their employees, okay, the utilizers of these particular protocol. They don't want to have to do too much. They want you to be able to set up infrastructure and just have it run and fully integrate smoothly with the systems they already have going. Think of it as more of an upgrade as opposed to a replacement system. So are they prepared? They have to prepare. That's what all of this time period is about. Building the infrastructure, also an education curve. As I said before, a lot of these people who are going to be utilizing this technology don't have the education to do so. They must be made abreast of what is going on, how these things run, how their systems are going to function, how the data is stored. They need to know all of these things. So there's a bit of an education curve that's going to happen as well. But yes, in the future, they will have to be ready to manage the increased liability of citizen savings. Yes, they will have to do that. There's so many benefits, it outweighs the negatives. So yes, I do see them doing that. As if they're able to provide these particular services at a lower cost. We're talking about CBDCs, okay? Keep that in mind. We're able to provide these services and save a lot of money and provide you the services where you're saving a lot of money as well. But we're also bringing in a lot of capital. If we're bringing in a lot of capital, there can be a lot of improvements to infrastructure. There can be a lot of improvements on the services that we offer. Everything can improve if we're bringing in more capital. Now, after you're bringing in all that massive capital from CBDCs, because you're running them on something like Stellar XLM, Ripple XRP, whatever the case may be, Algorand Hbar, your protocol of choice. After you're bringing in all that capital, it's just a matter of making sure the capital is properly distributed. That's it. So I don't see any of this being a negative for CBDCs whatsoever. I think it's a positive for CBDCs that these questions are being asked. And what it does is once the foundations are privy to this information, I'm sure they've known about this for years. These different questions, they've had a lot of meetings with central banks and commercial banks and large business institutions. This is why you see so many improvements to the protocol. They're trying to close every gap, every hole, every negative that could be highlighted by the Fed, by a government, by a central bank or commercial bank. They're trying to close up all those gaps. So if you can do that and provide a near perfect experience that's so superior it cannot be denied, that's when you can say, yes, we're going after all of the money. That phrase in itself from Ripple, which is, I believe, could be extrapolated to all of the foundations, but that phrase says so much. I think people take it too lightly. And one of the things that it means is that we're going to continue to stay ahead of the competition, right? Which is the legacy system and other crypto-like mechanisms that could try to infiltrate our industry and take those millions out of our pockets. No, it's naughty. But they're going to stay ahead of the curve so that, yes, we can say confidently we are going to move all of the money. That is the goal. And if they can do that, that's definitely possible. They don't need all of the money. They just need a modicum of those quadrillions of dollars. And that is muy linda. So all of these things that we just went through are very important. Each step we have to observe, take note of the names of these organizations, look into them. How much money are they bringing in? All of that lends to the money that could flow into that protocol that will make your pockets explode. But you must know the conditions. Then you'll know what causes are going to arise out of those conditions. And if you know the causes, you can then begin to deduce the various effects. That's good planning. So now that you have that information, what are you going to do with it? I know what I'm going to do with it. So until next time, let's get to the money.